The judge in Blake Lively's case just slapped down their psychopathic request.
Blake Lively thought she had it all figured out. She walked into the courthouse on March 4, 2025, ready to flex her Hollywood power and walk out triumphant. Instead, the judge's gavel came down like a sledgehammer, and everything she'd meticulously planned was torn apart in mere moments. The very legal system she'd hoped to manipulate turned the tables on her, setting off a whirlwind of revelations that no one, least of all Blake, ever saw coming. It all began with a seemingly routine hearing. Blake and her powerful team of attorneys strutted in with confidence, fully expecting they'd steamroll Justin Baldoni into submission. After all, how could he possibly stand a chance against one of the biggest names in Hollywood, backed by an army of top-tier lawyers? But that confidence evaporated the moment Judge Louis Lyman started speaking. He wasted no time exposing the ridiculous nature of Blake's requests, raising an eyebrow at the sheer breadth of her demands. Within minutes, he was calling her subpoenas overly intrusive, disproportionate, and, in more polite legal terms, completely absurd. When the judge pointed out that Blake wanted 2.5 years of Baldoni's phone records, GPS data, personal communications, and even details of doctor visits, you could almost feel the entire courtroom shift uncomfortably. The setting took on a surreal air, as though we were no longer in a simple defamation hearing but at the dawn of a high-stakes federal investigation. Yet there was nothing legitimate or reasonable about Blake's request. It was borderline obsessive, a desperate fishing expedition for something, anything, that might tarnish Baldoni. The judge saw right through it and hammered home how indefensible it was, effectively telling Blake, "You obviously cannot do that." Eyewitnesses in the courtroom described the exact moment Blake realized she wasn't in control. Her composure went from poised to panicked in seconds. She started whispering urgently with her attorneys, her face flushed, her posture stiff. For all her star power, none of it mattered under the unforgiving scrutiny of the law. Even her own team appeared embarrassed, as though they realized they'd overplayed their hand in spectacular fashion. By the time the judge finally dismissed the bulk of her subpoena demands, you could practically see the tension in Blake's face morph into something resembling panic. This was not how her day in court was supposed to end. That was only the beginning. Right after the judge's smackdown, an even bigger bombshell dropped. The next hearing would feature a live audio feed. The idea that the public, indeed the entire internet, could tune in and hear her team's arguments in real time was devastating to Blake's carefully curated image. She'd spent weeks trying to control media narratives, relying on strategic leaks and spin to shape public opinion. Now she couldn't twist or filter anything. The world would witness firsthand how her case was riddled with overreach and hollow accusations. As soon as that ruling hit, everyone knew this wasn't just a legal scuffle anymore. It had transformed into a very public, very humiliating spectacle that no spin doctor could fully contain. But if you think a live audio feed was enough to rattle Blake, you should have seen what happened next. A leaked recording from Ari Emanuel, CEO of WME, landed in the public sphere like a meteor. Emanuel is one of the most powerful figures in the entire entertainment industry. If there's a Hollywood gatekeeper, he's it. Yet this leaked audio captured him mocking Justin Baldoni, dismissively calling him baloney, and confirming what many had suspected but never had proof of. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds had personally pushed to blacklist Baldoni. They didn't just watch passively as his career took a nosedive, they demanded it. Emanuel even admitted he fired Baldoni to keep Blake and Ryan happy. It was the kind of behind-the-scenes power play everyone whispered about but no one ever confirmed, until now. The timing of this revelation was surreal. Turned Blake's entire defamation claim on its head. She'd been insisting Baldoni was the mastermind of a so-called smear campaign when, in reality, she and her husband had orchestrated a blacklisting scheme that cost Baldoni roles, deals, and credibility. The hypocrisy was staggering. Blake's lawsuit claimed she was the victim of false statements, but the leaked audio made it sound like she and Ryan were the real architects of damaging rumors. With Emanuel's confession out in the open, the public, and especially the online community, was outraged. People took to social media in droves, blasting Blake for her duplicity and using hashtags that compared her meltdown to a Hollywood Karen moment. This swirling mess only got worse once people discovered that the entire Freakonomics podcast episode featuring Ari Emanuel had mysteriously disappeared. No audio. No video. Nothing. Under normal circumstances, that might be dismissed as a simple technical glitch. But in this context, it looked far more sinister, a possible cover-up to protect Hollywood elites from scrutiny. Luckily for Baldoni, a resourceful journalist in the room had secretly recorded the conversation, ensuring the truth couldn't be buried as easily as an unflattering headline. Then came the most jaw-dropping twist of all: Blake Lively's top-tier PR hire. Instead of seeking out a standard Hollywood publicist, she brought in Nick Shapiro, a former CIA deputy chief of staff. This isn't your run-of-the-mill crisis manager. Shapiro is known for involvement in political spin operations, including the widely debated incident involving a laptop and claims of Russian disinformation. In other words, he specializes in shaping narratives on a massive scale. The idea that an actress and her husband would need intelligence-level damage control for a lawsuit lit up every corner of social media. Everyone asked the same question: why does Blake Lively need a former CIA operative to salvage her reputation if she really believes in her legal claims? Sure enough, soon after Shapiro's name surfaced, the New York Times came out with a piece that portrayed Baldoni in a negative light. The timing was almost too perfect. Observers quickly connected the dots, pointing out that this had all the hallmarks of a classic smear and pivot strategy, hiring a pro to take the heat off Blake by shifting it onto Baldoni. But the public wasn't buying it. The fact that the judge had already dismantled most of her arguments in court, combined with the leaked audio implicating her and Ryan in Baldoni's blacklisting, made the entire New York Times article come across like a poorly disguised distraction. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds was noticeably MIA. Known for his witty tweets and viral social media presence, he went conspicuously silent. The same man who often cracks jokes at every opportunity didn't appear to lift a finger to defend his wife in her time of crisis. While some fans speculated he was working behind the scenes, others felt he was simply distancing himself from a legal train wreck that had spiraled beyond anyone's control. It's one thing to stand by your partner in a tough situation, and another to watch your own reputation get dragged down by a losing battle you might have sparked in the first place. Hollywood insiders started whispering about the meltdown behind the scenes. Major A-listers who had once been close to Blake, everyone from longtime friends to members of the girl squad she used to hang with, were nowhere to be found. If it seemed like Hollywood was ghosting her, it's because they likely were. These are people who think in terms of protecting their careers, and tying oneself to a lawsuit that showcased so much vindictiveness didn't look like a wise move. Even one of the industry's biggest names, Taylor Swift, stayed conspicuously quiet despite previous public displays of friendship with Blake. The same hush fell across Gigi Hadid and other high-profile figures who had once appeared in the same circles. Nothing kills Hollywood alliances faster than controversy that can't be easily spun away. And it's no surprise that potential witnesses in the case want no part of it. TMZ reported that multiple industry figures are reluctant to testify, fearing backlash if they speak honestly about what they know. That alone speaks volumes about Blake's behind-the-scenes influence. For someone publicly casting herself as a victim, she sure wields a lot of behind-the-scenes power, enough to scare insiders into silence. Whether that fear is justified or not, the mere fact it exists highlights how toxic and complicated this entire situation has become. The fact remains, evidence is piling up against Blake. The leaked audio from the WME CEO, the judge's ruling that her subpoenas were overkill, and the sudden emergence of Nick Shapiro with intelligence-level crisis management all paint a picture of someone desperate to control the narrative at any cost. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni stands poised to countersue for defamation, armed with more than enough evidence to make a compelling case. If a defamation suit lands on Blake's doorstep, it'll do more than just drain her finances. It could undermine whatever is left of her Hollywood influence. As the story continues unfolding, public sympathy is quickly slipping away from Blake. Many see the judge's biting critique of her legal strategy as a microcosm of her entire approach: bluster, intimidation, and overreach that faltered once real scrutiny was applied. Gone are the days when she could wave a Hollywood wand and magically get her way. Now everyone from the average social media user to legal experts is asking the same question. What is Blake Lively hiding, and why is she going to such extremes to keep it hidden? Her meltdown wasn't limited to the courthouse either. Reports circulated that after she stormed out in frustration, she was on the phone immediately, venting to insiders and possibly strategizing an even more aggressive next move. The irony is inescapable. She initially filed this lawsuit claiming Baldoni was smearing her image. Yet all the major revelations so far, especially the Emmanuel audio, point back to her and Ryan as the ones orchestrating a massive behind-the-scenes takedown. It's the very definition of hypocrisy. To make matters worse, social media chatter has intensified around Blake's contradictory claims. She's on record complaining about how harmful public attention can be when dealing with private matters. But there she was, marching into court with a barrage of demands designed to drag Baldoni's entire personal life into the spotlight. She's vigorously insisted she wants the legal fight to remain professional, yet her actions suggest she's perfectly fine weaponizing the darkest corners of someone else's history if it gives her a tactical edge. The judge's decision to allow live audio feeds at the next hearing has turned that hypocrisy into a ticking time bomb, ready to explode once the public hears every word. Now the question shifts to the possible fallout. Justin Baldoni proceeds with further legal action, we could witness one of the most public and damaging Hollywood lawsuits in years, one that unveils how far certain stars will go to preserve their carefully crafted public images. We might learn about the full extent of behind-the-scenes intimidation, from strategic media placements to anonymous threats. And if more audio recordings or internal emails emerge, the backlash could extend well beyond Blake herself, roping in executives and celebrities who've quietly enabled these tactics for years. But it's not just the potential defamation lawsuit that could bury her. Court of public opinion, fueled by a relentless social media cycle, is already handing down its verdict. Large fan communities that once admired Blake's talent and glamorous lifestyle are divided, with many openly questioning whether they ever truly knew the person behind the designer gowns and heartwarming Instagram posts. The aura of authenticity she cultivated over the years is being stripped away piece by piece, replaced by the image of a power-hungry star desperate to bury her own involvement in blacklisting another actor. As more details surface about her decision to bring on Nick Shapiro, a former CIA figure widely known for deploying questionable spin tactics, people are left wondering if there's anything she won't do to regain control of the narrative. Hollywood watchers note that hiring intelligence operatives crosses a line that even most embattled celebrities avoid. Usually, a high-profile attorney or a crisis management publicist is the go-to solution. But a former CIA deputy chief of staff? That's in a realm of its own, invoking images of espionage, advanced psychological tactics, and massive-scale disinformation campaigns. It's the kind of strategy you'd expect from global power struggles, not a dispute involving an actress and a fellow performer. Any illusions the public may have had about Blake's innocence continue to crumble with every passing week. Television personalities, YouTubers, and pundits across the political spectrum are digging into the case, each exposing new layers of confusion and contradiction in Blake's legal arguments. The more she insists she's the real victim, the less convincing it sounds, especially in the wake of undeniable proof that she and Ryan Reynolds demanded Baldoni's career be destroyed behind closed doors. That's the real tragedy in all this. An actress with genuine talent and a long list of successful projects might end up remembered more for this fiasco than for her roles on screen. Sometimes it's not a single mistake that ruins a celebrity's reputation, but a cascade of bad decisions fueled by ego, desperation, or both. And when you add clandestine PR tactics and intelligence-grade manipulation to the mix, you create a scandal so large it overshadows any accomplishment or philanthropic endeavor. What happens next could shape the entire conversation around power dynamics in Hollywood. If Blake Lively fails to regain her footing, it might send a chilling message to other stars with less overt influence. If someone as prominent as Blake can be toppled by her own hubris, perhaps nobody is untouchable. Studios might become more cautious about aligning themselves with big names that carry too many personal controversies. Contracts could include even more morality clauses, and agents might second-guess whether it's worth continuing old-school intimidation tactics when modern audiences have proven they can sniff out inauthenticity from a mile away. On top of all that, we still have the looming possibility that further evidence has yet to be revealed. Rumors suggest more recorded calls could emerge, possibly featuring Ryan Reynolds himself. If that happens, the wave of backlash could intensify dramatically, turning this ordeal into a cautionary tale for any celebrity who thinks they can run Hollywood like a personal kingdom. One misstep in the digital age can unravel a lifetime of image building, and Blake might learn that lesson the hard way. And so we arrive at a critical juncture. The live audio feed from the next hearing is poised to capture every word, every slip-up, and every moment of tension. In an environment where no one can craft a spin in real time, the truth has a funny way of surfacing. If the previous hearing was a fiasco, the next one could be a full-blown spectacle, with the entire internet listening in. It's not just about one actress anymore. It's about Hollywood politics, celebrity power, and the lengths to which some will go to maintain their status. Blake Lively has backed herself into a corner, and the countdown to her next public humiliation has already started. Her team can file as many frantic motions as they want. They can attempt to muzzle coverage or spin fresh narratives through mainstream outlets. but the cracks in her story are growing too large to hide. Every new revelation invites more scrutiny, and every bit of scrutiny leads to another embarrassing headline. Unless she manages a legal miracle, the endgame could be career-altering. Which brings us to the final question. Is there any way for Blake Lively to escape this unscathed? With Ari Emanuel's damaging audio out in the open, with the judge's dismissals of her outrageous requests, and with the public increasingly seeing through her manipulative tactics, it looks unlikely. Even if she settles behind closed doors, the court of public opinion has already judged her harshly. A settlement won't erase the meltdown people witnessed in court, nor will it change how the world perceives her now that she's proven willing to tear someone else's life apart just to protect her own image. In the end, Blake's downfall might serve as a cautionary tale. No amount of Hollywood clout, legal muscle, or covert PR operations can permanently suppress the truth. When push comes to shove, facts have a stubborn way of rising to the surface. The real damage isn't just the legal fees or the negative headlines. It's the erosion of trust, the collapse of a carefully constructed persona, and the chilling effect of watching an actress so many once admired reduce herself to intimidation and desperation. If you've been following this saga, buckle up. The next hearing, broadcast for the world to hear, could finally bring everything to a head. Will we hear Blake Lively's team try new angles, or will we see them triple down on the old ones? Will Justin Baldoni unveil even more evidence? And most crucially, will the once celebrated Blake Lively take the stand and admit any wrongdoing, or will she cling to the last shreds of a narrative that's quickly unraveling? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. This legal meltdown isn't just a celebrity squabble. It's a seismic shift in Hollywood's power dynamics, and everyone's watching with bated breath. Stay tuned, because if the latest hearing is any indication, the biggest shocks are yet to come. And as the countdown to the next public showdown ticks closer, the tension in Hollywood is palpable. Stars, agents, and studios alike have their eyes on this unfolding drama, bracing themselves for whatever twists come next. Sometimes the harshest lesson is learned when the spotlight you once craved transforms into an unforgiving glare, revealing every hidden truth you tried so desperately to bury. For Blake Lively, that glare is only growing brighter. And for the rest of us, the story serves as a vivid reminder that no PR strategy, no matter how well-funded or well-connected, can stand up against the undeniable power of raw, unfiltered reality.